Here today for our UnExam number 2. Welcome. I'm going to be sending out a Canvas announcement just as a reminder for the event that's happening at Shavers Creek tomorrow, as well as a note about Packback. You won't get your question until Wednesday of this week. So those two things coming toward you soon via Canvas announcements.
So it wasn't much longer ago that I was sitting in your seats, taking exams and feeling the fear of filling out those Scantrons. And so this is the way that we've set up our education system. We go into a classroom, we listen to what somebody up front has to say, and then we're tested on what we remember. And I remember, like, at the end of a unit, just cramming, like the night before, being like, I didn't retain any of this. I need to do as much as I can to try and do well on the exam. And so this is what we are going to be talking about. I wish that we could all be sitting in a circle looking at each other, rather than this traditional way of you all looking at Jen and me as the ones in the front with the knowledge to impart. The reality is that we are all each other's teachers.
Thanks. So it wasn't that long ago that I was taking tests, although much longer ago, and the system hasn't changed. The system probably hasn't changed since the time, before my grandfather, where people went to school in this system, sitting in lines and rows like this. And so what we are trying to do here is the UnExam is an opportunity for connection rather than separation, and that's what we're all about, right? So we're finding connection through this opportunity. So we mentioned this during UnExam 1. This is the primordial classroom. People sitting around the campfire telling stories and sharing experiences. And then here's this fabulous photo of some of your beautiful TAs doing exactly that yesterday. It's the way that we share experience, the way that we share stories, the way that we learn inherently from each other. And so I want to share with you this thought that I've noticed that when all the lights are on and people tend to talk about what they're doing, their outer lives, right? But when we're sitting around in candlelight or by firelight, people start to talk about how they're feeling. What are the deeper things that are going on for them? They speak more subjectively. They argue less. They're longer pauses. To sit alone without any electric light brings out a lot of curiosity and creativity, right? When you're sitting in the dark or sitting with a candlelight. I have my best ideas, in those dawn hours or that just after nightfall, there's a certain place. But if I switch on the electric lights, then it changes how I feel. It changes what I feel like I need to do. It changes things not out of that place of suggestion and creativity, but into this place of things that need to be done. So sort of in this space, in this theater space, we can, start to channel that a little bit. It's a little bit darker, a little bit quieter, and so hopefully during this UnExam you can channel that sort of inner knowing. So we've experienced a lot of things through the course of part 2. Adding on to what we did in part 1. Remember, like way back there to like week 6. Now we're here in week 12, and we're thinking about and experiencing a lot of different types of things. So we're going to try to get some of that out now before we jump into on Wednesday. You'll switch seats again, and we'll start part 3. So if we were going to, our first question for you is, if we were going to give exams in this class, thinking about what the class is about, the structure of the class, the feeling of the class, the questions would likely look a little different than traditional questions that you experience on exams. So our first question to you is, what would happen if we gave you an exam, a test in BiSci 3? What kind of questions would be on it? So go ahead and talk to your neighbors about that. What do you think? Works. It's just the time is really fast. I didn't say anything about passing around the clipboards. I liked that part. Yeah, we could talk about it. Well, just, right. A lot of the, remember how the sign up went in the fall where we got all these people who just signed it because I don't know why. And then they didn't respond to the email back, so we got whatever 50 signatures, and then because they didn't pay attention to what they were signing anyway, so maybe it doesn't matter if we tell them or not. I wish. Yeah, maybe should mention. Yes, I think so. Yes. That'd be good. Yes, will do. I just totally forgot. Great. See, there's one now. Those guys read what the top of it is. Kind of confused. Yeah, right. Some conversation. Where did it come from? Behind us? In front of us? What's going on? Feel good? Yeah, actually. All right, we'll bring this around. I do want to mention that there are clipboards going around today. If you have any interest in being a TA or even interest in finding out what that means, please sign your name there, and then everybody who signs up on that sheet will get a link to a Google Doc to sign up for a conversation slot. So coming to talk with me or to Autumn and finding out more about what it means to be a TA for this class. So this is not a commitment. If you sign up for this, it's not a commitment. It's a place where we can start a conversation with you about that. All right, so what questions might we ask if we were to give a traditional exam? What creative things did you come up with? Microphones are out. We're going to expect to hear from you a lot today, so. All right, ready, go.
Personally, I don't think you guys would ask questions for like a right or wrong answer. I feel like it would be more like how in-depth did you reflect to the question that you asked? Like, did you try really hard to think about it, or were you just like a one-sentence answer?
Thanks. You're probably right. Yes. There's someone here in the front. If there's a microphone nearby. Great.
Common theme around here, a lot of topics about birds we were thinking about.
Oh, birds, bird questions. Nice. Yep, we do talk about them a lot. Another one over there? Yeah.
Okay. Well, I expect a question on climate change.
Oh, yep. Thank you. Yep.
I was thinking, I noticed that we have a lot of quotes that are on the board, but we don't really dive into them. We just kind of read them and we think about it, but I feel like actually writing how it relates to me or how it relates to the class, something like that.
Nice, a dive into a quote. So many interesting and wise people out there that, yep, very good. So if there was a question about climate change, I wonder what kind, how would that be phrased in this class? Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like a question would be what have you unlearned?
Ooh, what have you unlearned? Interesting. That's actually the topic of your lab this week. Excellent. You'll get
Jen,
into
I
that.
have one
Yes, where are you?
in the front.
Okay, great. Sorry. Oh, there you are.
Hello.
I'm sorry. Hi, Brendan.
I pictured it as just a blank sheet that just says why. And that's it.
You know who's going to be the next professor of this class? Thanks, Brendan. Why? Any others out there right now? All right, so where we've been, am I missing somebody? Okay. Where we've been through part 2 has been through a lot of stuff, right? A lot of heavy stuff. We've talked about the Earth breakdown. There they are, the birds, the bird population struggle and extinction chaos for all kinds of species. Declined health of the ocean, climate chaos, chemical chaos, pandemics. Right. We've talked about then, we've dug deeper a little bit and found out, surface problems, rapid population growth, exponential increase in overconsumption. We all need to consume things, but it's how is it that we choose to do that? The disconnect from the origin of the items that we're consuming. And then the deeper causes, economism, Earth as a commodity and a waste dump, greed, taking more than we need, overlooking where true happiness originates. So thinking about where we've been through here, we have something else to offer you.
Yeah, again, thinking about everything we've been through, a lot of it goes back to a specific product that we've been talking about a lot. So I want you to take in this video, and we'll be asking questions about it.
Throughout the world that we may well ask what was used before its discovery.
Before 1950, plastic was barely a part of American life. So how did our culture become so plastic? Modern plastic didn't really get its start until World War II, when the military realized how versatile it could be.
If you're old enough to remember the old-fashioned glass windscreens, this is what happened when you banged your nut.
Yeah, huge improvement there. But after the war ended, plastic companies needed to find new ways to sell their products.
Both sheet and powder are now being dramatically applied to peacetime living in hundreds of beautiful and useful ways.
And so, plastic went from protecting cargo to protecting our leftovers.
Food stored in baggies plastic bags always have the sound of freshness.
And nylon went from the skies to our thighs.
They stretch better to fit better.
And of course, who could forget?
My mama done told me, she told me, hon, we're having a party, a Tupperware party.
People went absolutely crazy for plastic.
And a new plastic decorator container.
Put them in a polyethylene plastic bag, and to brighten up the plastic tree, plastic decorations.
Nowadays, everything can be made in plastic.
This was where our addiction began. For decades, Americans had a make it do or do without mentality. But our new throwaway culture fell in love with single-use plastics and didn't worry about the consequences.
Being disposable, there are no empties to collect. Vinyl and asbestos on the floor.
In fresh sun, sea, and sky colors.
Oh, the irony. During the 60s, global plastic production increased 400%, and by 1979, we were producing more plastic than steel. But people were starting to worry about plastic side effects.
Exposing animals to BPA resulted in serious ailments that signaled problems in humans.
We are suspicious of acrylonitrile because it's chemically related to vinyl chloride.
Utter nonsense.
Side note, they were talking about these bottles specifically, which were created by Coca-Cola and Monsanto in 1975. And surprise, acrylonitrile is toxic, and it was used in food and beverage containers for 3 decades. It was finally banned in 1977, and the bottles were taken off the shelves. And as the research was stacking up, so was the garbage. Due to a landfill shortage, a ship nicknamed the Garbage Barge made headlines in 1987 after it wandered the shorelines for months looking for a place to dump its trash. And it got people talking.
It may seem odd to you that for such a large country we're having trouble with our garbage, but we're drowning in the stuff.
So we added a fourth R to reduce, reuse, recycle. Refuse. With that, in 2007, San Francisco banned plastic bags.
They end up as a litter problem. The city has to spend tens of millions of dollars cleaning up that litter problem. They get in the ocean and they're ingested by marine mammals, turtles. They cause huge problems there.
The measure would require stores to offer only bags made of recyclable paper, reusable cloth, or new bio bags that can be turned into compost.
Powerful plastic lobbies freaked out, worrying that the trend would catch on, and spent millions trying to overturn the statewide bill in 2015. They also successfully lobbied states to preemptively ban plastic bag bans under the guise of protecting the consumer in the grocery stores. And so, the plastic bag remains, as does our plastic addiction. In 2014, 100 billion plastic bags were used in the US. That's almost one per person per day. We're still consuming plastics at a breakneck pace, even though we can literally see the toll it takes on our environment and wildlife. So far, some 700 species of marine animals have been reported to have eaten or been entangled in plastic. And scientists estimate that by 2050, virtually every seabird species on the planet will be eating it. Currently, only about 1/5 of all plastics get recycled, but it's going to take more than recycling to fix our plastic problem. We'll need to stop using so much of it in the first place. If we want to save our world and ourselves, we have to decide, planet or plastic.
So my question for you after viewing that video is, bringing parts 1 and 2 of the course together, how can choosing the products we consume connect us with taking control of our lives? Take a minute and talk to your partner, and then we'll open up the floor with the microphones.
So all three of them came up, all three questions. I don't know. I separated them.
I think that will help them, because that question. Okay. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I did what you said. I'm not. I thought it was a great idea. You're right. Good question.
Okay, we're gonna come back together here. So microphones are out. Who has something they want to share about this question? How can choosing the products we consume connect us with taking control of our lives? Balcony?
I think that, regular people can limit their single-use plastic, and I'm over here, sorry. Okay.
See you.
That's great, and it will maybe make a difference, but there's not really going to be any change until big companies stop mass producing single-use plastic.
I completely agree with you, but what is some way that you, just like your action of not consuming that plastic, can maybe stop these companies from producing so much plastic? Do you believe that is the case?
Yeah, because we can kind of like encourage each other to stop, and then we can see that's making a difference by stores kind of listening and reducing their plastic footprint, but I don't know how much of a difference.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
We have one over here.
Hi. So my partner and I had talked about like even the small things that we can do. Like for example, like when we go shopping, bringing our own bags and stuff. And we had talked about like at the markets, like on campus, how they always give plastic bags. And I was like, I feel so bad because I always use those plastic bags. And my partner was like, I bring my own bags. And I was like, I need to start doing that because even small things can make a difference. Like it can feel like frustrating and feel like hopeless, like we can't do anything. But if we all don't use plastic bags, then companies aren't going to make money because people will stop buying them.
Thank you. Yeah.
Over here in the corner. So many options have like more environmentally friendly things that don't use plastic, but those aren't necessarily as accessible to the everyday buyer. The plastic products are more affordable for people that are on a budget, because you can get, like think about ketchup, you can get that in a glass or plastic bottle. The glass bottle contains less ketchup but costs more than the plastic bottle. So who's gonna, like which one are you gonna choose if you are on a budget?
That's a very good point. How our industries are kind of, they are created to make it easier to be using plastic versus bottling their substances in glass or other more sustainable materials.
Hi, I'm in the balcony in the middle. So I was talking to my partner about this, and I feel like even my plastic consumption, like everybody who consumes plastic for convenience, not consume, but like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like an addiction, but we don't treat it as an addiction. And it's just like this convenience, it's just so hard to not accept into your life. And I feel like if we together treat like this problem as an addiction, like as we treat addiction to cigarettes or alcohol, that we could see people come together more to help solve this problem.
I think that's a fantastic point. And it really warms my heart to hear that a lot of you are having conversations with your partners or with your friends to discuss these issues that we're talking about in this class. And I think that that's a great segue to go into the next thing that we're going to be talking about, addictions and how they shape our culture.
So this idea of plastics has been mentioned a couple times. Autumn mentioned it during her chemical class, and then it was also mentioned in the shelter class when Joel was talking about how we consume the clothes that we consume. So it is containers, but it's in other areas of our lives, sometimes sneakier places too, which then ties into what we talked about, the idea of economism. It's a powerful force, and it is just a story of taking rather than giving, of separation rather than connection, of story of me rather than us, right? And what that story is teaching us is that we're stuck in this place. And when we think about being stuck, it is the story that matters. What other story could we create that wasn't it? So where we are now, we're stuck in this story that there's scarcity, that there should be competition, that it's to be feared, that we need to be greedy because we need to make sure that we get everything that we need and all of our family and everything that, and so making sure then we hoard those things sometimes. It's about blaming other people. It's about war. It's about this competition over resources. And what ends up is that we're in a place where there's this, it feels kind of meaningless and disconnected. And instead, what happens if we look at it of a story of abundance? that if we work together, Ubuntu, I am only if we are, right? So the idea that we can collaborate, that we trust, that we share, that we have compassion for others, brings about a world of peace and more meaningful and soulful existence. So from this experiment, or from this place, we can see how this affects us. We're going to do a little thought experiment and see what happens. So here we go. We have a dollar bill here. I can hold that. Got it? Okay. Thought experiment.
So what's coming up for you? Do it! Just think about the feelings that you are feeling when I have a flame so close to this thing that represents what we've been talking about in part 2.
The Simpsons already did it. Do it! What a power. Pretty wonderful.
So the microphones are out.
You can talk with your partners.
I heard some talking already. Let's hear from some people.
Does this work? Oh, Autumn, we have one on the balcony.
Okay.
I'm in the middle up here. I loved that. I thought it was great. I think money rules everything in our society under capitalism, and it is so wonderful to see it be just paper, just it's fabric. It's so great to see it almost like humiliated, I think. I loved that. And I remember, I think it was in last week's reading, this was like mentioned, and I was like, that would be so awesome to see in class. And I'm glad that it actually happened because it was awesome.
So it sounds like you got excitement from this. You felt more free seeing the dollar bill go up in flames. What else?
I'm pretty sure burning U.S. currency is a third-class felony in the United States. Actually, I know it is, so I don't know if we need to get the cops in here.
Well, I mean, I hope that this secret is safe in this classroom. It's for educational purposes.
Hi, I'm right here.